What have you learned from someone who mentored or mentors you that you would like to pass down to others, and why? Welcome to Season 2, Episode 9 of the Prolific Shift Sunday Sit Down. I'm Janae Peters. I'm the founder, CEO, lots of other things as I get this business off the ground and hopefully not all those things when things really take off. This week, we are slowing it down a bit and we're going into the past in a way that shouldn't require a lot of us. I think we are, as humans, kind of apprentice types by nature. A lot of what we know about how wisdom was passed down early on before the structures that we now know exist, or that we now know exist. Before that, there were lots of apprentice model type things, and there was lots of passing down, whether that was through intuitive passing downs or just actual transmittive transmittive passing downs. So this is a way that humans, as our interdependent selves, came to understand, like, the way that we learn from each other. Sometimes we learned from folks' mistakes, right? And sometimes we learned from successes. And not that you can always replicate someone else's successes, because that takes a lot of things, including self-awareness, some kind of skill sets, capacity building, all that. But we are always, I think when we are at our best, we are learning and we understand learning as part of evolving. And I like for us to live in that land. And always, not just as an educator or as someone who really treasures mentorship, but just as someone who understands how things. That was about to be a bold statement. I was about to say, as someone who understands how things work, I don't understand how things work, but I understand how some things work. And what I have learned so far leads me to believe that this is an important question. Because I think we have language around this, right? People say, like, oh, they just dropped a gem, or here's free game, or sometimes we even hear it as, here's a hot take. But I don't know that we couch it as something that we have learned that we're passing it on. I think instead, because we live in such in a society that values arrogance and confidence, is put out like, and I did it, and so can you. And I don't love that, actually, about things, but to each their own. It works for somebody. But what if we frame those as what they are, like lessons that were passed down to us that we hope to pass down to others? And that's what this question is hoping to get us to really think about this week. I've lived a kind of life that I think sometimes I've taken for granted, or really didn't understand the kind of gifts that I had around me. I've had lots of opportunities to be around people who are just naturally sharers. I know, as an educator and someone who has always felt inclined towards education, like through school, as we've known it, that you wouldn't be surprised by hearing that someone has had advisors or a teacher that really stuck out to them. But like, my teachers have always been life for me, in maybe strange ways, but in a lot of really good and powerful ways too. But mentorship actually started at church for me. My godmother was the pastor of our church, and she was one of the first women pastors in Cleveland. She founded something like 4 churches throughout the US, like was big for a time, and also like took no mess, and was a very faithful human. Under her, the woman who I grew up with as pastor for most of my life, until she passed away this past November. I mean, talk about someone who should have been writing leadership theory, right? It was all there. Someone who had managed like super authentic leadership style while being caring and while being no nonsense and lots of other things. And not just people in positions for me. I've had people throughout my life who have served as models, mentors galore. Even this question is kind of overwhelming because I feel like I have opened myself to mentorship from a lot of people. And that is something that even in my world, the things that I'm creating are really based on mentorship and relationship. And that is, I don't play around with that. On any or either end of that relationship, I don't play around, because I know and believe it's important. For this question, what have you learned from someone who mentored or mentors you that you would like to pass down? I would say I'll give a recent one, and I'm sure that I have said this in one of these Sunday sit downs, but this one really matters to me. And it's really reminding us, especially those of us who see ourselves as servant leaders, service oriented folks, anyone in a helping profession, anything like that. The reminder from this mentor was that when we give from a place of raggedy, we're not actually giving a gift to someone. And I will pass that on through the world as far as I can. As a person who's just now really um, taking steps to be intentional and deliberate about that, about not giving anything from a place of raggedy and trying to shore myself up, get myself together, be cared for in a way that when I'm giving to others, giving outside of that, that it's coming from a place of abundance, from a place of energy and care, and not just raggedy and responsibility. That is something that I will pass down, and I will stand at a mountaintop and yell it out because I think that's one of the things that's going to help people who look like me and who are from where I'm from and who do things like I do to figure out how to be cared for and to be caring in what we give as well. So I think it's important, like that's my why. It's important to me because I think one of the lessons I've received from this world has also been a kind of work, go hard or go home, no sleep till Brooklyn. I'll sleep when I'm dead, like that kind of, the grind never stops. And it's been a disservice, honestly. It's done a disservice, even for people who are doing good in spaces. What we have not seen modeled enough is people taking care of themselves, living long and living long because they understood what it took to give what they were giving. And so that's what I want more of. I want us around, and I want us giving and caring from that place of abundance as opposed to raggedy. So that's what I'll share here. The action item for this week is pretty straightforward, right? So consider how you can bring intention or deliberate action to sharing this lesson, and think about what types of relationships would create an environment that would welcome lessons. One thing that I think sometimes turns folks off, right, is that we're like, someone's like, oh, I've had a bad day. And you're like, when I've had bad days, this is what I've done, or this is what you should have done. And you might not actually have a relationship with that person that welcomes that kind of exchange. But the action item here is asking you to really think about where, if you are bringing intention or deliberate action to sharing things that you believe need to be shared with others, or that you would just love to share with others because of what it has done for you and in your world. Also think about what type of relationship building you need to do in order to create that kind of environment. It's one thing to be like, I know where my heart is, and I've done the things, but if people aren't feeling in relationship with you in a way that they're ready to receive it, they won't hear it anyway. And you've also just wasted your energy. So all that being said, think about this, both the question and the action. I don't think this is a super heavy one. I hope it's not a super heavy one. This feels, again, I know my orientation, so I know it's kind of light to me. And I suspect for some people there are more hard lessons than maybe light and fluffy ones. But that lesson, the lesson behind that, learning about not giving from a place of raggedy, came from actually being held accountable by that mentor in a way that broke me down. And I don't like crying, and I don't like disappointing people. And I did all that. And I learned this lesson. And I've benefited from intention, deliberate action, and really naming what's going on for me and what I need to move forward. So I hope that there is something in there that gives you an opportunity both to build stronger relationships, especially with people who you might be the mentor in the mentor-mentee relationship with, or in your mentorship relationships where you're the mentee, that has you a little more open to what's possible. Because sometimes I think we get in spaces, and then as soon as someone starts sharing, we're like, oh, I knew that. Yeah, I knew that. Yeah, I knew that. Instead of actually just being open to what someone, seeing something from a different perspective, or hearing it from someone who's had a different life experience, who might bring something different to what we thought we already knew. So all that being said, I love mentorship, y'all. So you got to excuse I get hype over the most random things, but here we are. Here I am. I just gave you what I got. Take good care, and I'll see y'all for the next Sunday Sit Down. Peace.